Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I'm very excited to have Sarah Moody here with me today. She is the creative director of Triangle Pop Up. I'm going to let her introduce that to herself because she probably does it better than I do. But I am very excited to have someone local here with me today. And I'm going to turn it over to her and let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Sarah. Thank you. I am I'd say the creative director of Triangle Pop Up is kind of the title I gave myself. But the owner and I run the company with my sister, which is something I'll talk about a little bit later. But as far as about me, I am from this area. I'm from Fuquay, just south of Raleigh, and really just about all things local. I have a dog. I spend a lot of time with him and traveling, and you probably see my dog at an event if you come
Yeah.
or in stores. But yeah, so that's kind of really I spend most of my time doing things with Triangle Pop Up. So
Very cool. Very cool. And did you go to college here and locally?
I did. I actually went to a small, like, private school
Okay.
in Wake Forest,
Okay.
but at that time had no idea what I was doing with my life. And but I did actually meet some of the small business friends and the connections that I have now that kind of led me to
Yeah.
pop up. So it's kind of cool in that way. But yeah, at that point, no idea what I was going to do with my life. So
That's very cool. I love getting to talk to local people. And it's so funny because I've had a ton of people ask me lately, like, am I born and raised here? I'm like, yeah, I'm born and raised. And people are like, wow, that's really rare to hear that. And I'm like, I don't think it is because I get to talk to people like yourself that have been here our entire lives. And I'm like, I don't feel like it's very rare anymore to hear it. I just think there's a lot of New York, Chicago people moving down here, and they just think
yeah.
it's really rare for us to all still be here.
No, I think it I get that, like, when I say that too, it's, like, rare. I did do a brief stint in, like, Atlanta, so I did move away for a minute, but I came back. I see Raleigh in, like, a whole new light now after coming back. Like, I love it so much more. Like, when you grow up here,
Absolutely.
like
Yeah, you've been here, you've seen it, you've done it. You need to move away to get some new perspective, come back, and you see things in a different light.
exactly, yeah.
All right, jumping in. Can you introduce first what Triangle Pop Up is? And then we'll get into the creation of it all from your perspective.
Yeah. So yeah, triangle pop-up sounds like a funny thing. I feel like if you have no idea what it is. A funny story is I came up with that name like the night before I had to, and I was just like, what do I call this business? And
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna do events in the triangle. So
Yeah.
Triangle Pop-Up. And but so Triangle Pop-Up is really mostly an event company. We organize pop-up markets and events that are all kind of like centered around promoting local small businesses and artists like makers.
Yep.
So in the past few years, there's been this really big movement for, I mean, always like shopping local, but
Absolutely.
like you see a lot more people who are creating, especially like can probably talk about it more, but with the pandemic and stuff, you saw a lot of people who like lost their jobs and they're like, what do I do? And got creative and started. I feel like I've seen so many new businesses come out of the pandemic. And so, but in the past few years, everyone's all of a sudden like hosting these like markets where you can come shop from local vendors and buy products that are functional, typically like jewelry, pottery, candles, but they're all made by local artisans. And typically these businesses like they sell that this is like their main source of income is to
Right.
sell events or they sell online, but most don't have a storefront yet. So we were kind of looking for a way to like help those people reach the public. So we organize mostly these pop up markets where there's food and there's music and they're at fun venues and you can just come shop from them. Just like an art festival type of vibe. And so that's like our main thing that we do. We're a women-owned business, and like we just like we exist just to really help promote and support and give opportunities to sell to other small businesses as well.
Yep.
So in the community, and just like create fun events for the community that are as well. So that's like the events are the main part of it. But then we've also started got into retail as well and have a few retail stores too.
And I'm going to say a few things that people who are not locally probably will have no understanding at all, and I apologize. But I loved when I walked into Crabtree Valley Mall and walked up to the top of the stairs at Christmas time, and there was the Curate store at Crabtree, and I was so thrilled. I had saw it on Kristen King. She had been promoting it and posting pictures of it, but I was so excited to see the store because I had been a massive follower of Triangle Pop Up, and to see you guys grow into this space, I thought was massive that people could come in to this one Triangle Pop Up like store and shop from locals, which
Yeah,
is massive to see. And then that people aren't per se having to wait for a pop-up to happen, they can come to this store and still get the full effect of it.
yeah. I mean, Crabtree was really cool for that reason. Like, it's cool. We're right next to Belk, so it's just like to be like being next to like this huge major retail. We're
Yeah.
in here. Really cool moment. But at the same time, like Crabtree is awesome. I always, I'm not a huge mall person because I'm all about let's shop local,
Yes.
but we can. But like I found out that Crabtree actually has 40 local stores here. The management's awesome. They wanted to work with us here because they wanted to like get do more local stuff. So they're really all about it, which is awesome. Like, yeah,
Love
they
it.
have all the retailers as well. It's a mall, like that's why people
Yes.
come here. But it is cool, like the emphasis that they put on local. They also do like a lot of local events too. So that was really neat. But yeah, really a cool moment to just like be in a mall that I like, we're from here too, that we grew up going to, and like,
Yeah.
oh, we're in the mall now too, and we just signed the lease to stay here. It was a pop-up first, so yeah.
Year round. I love it. We get to see it full time now. I loved seeing the Instagram story yesterday of you like putting the disco tiles up. I'm like, yep, I love this because it totally fits the theme of what you guys do and how and what Triangle Pop Up is. So I loved that.
Our brand is definitely very like retro and groovy, and that was like kind of, when we were like doing the events, we're like we want this fun environment. So that's always been kind of our thing, our like the disco balls everywhere and disco tiling everything. So like it's actually absurd how many disco balls are around like the store, and like I just buy disco tile and like want to make disco. So we're redoing the whole barn here. We actually are doing a lot of renovations on the store now that we are staying, so it's going to look really in the upcoming weeks. But it's fun. We do a lot of the work ourselves, and so it's fun projects like that, like you said, like disco tiling the bar.
Yeah. You learn so much when when you do stuff yourself, when you're, I want to say, forced into do things yourselves, where it's just like, okay, I got to learn to do this because I can't hire somebody to come in and do it.
That's the part about small business for sure. Like you learn a lot and you mess up a lot, and these projects sometimes get really expensive.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Like I said, my sister and I just bought this house, and people are so sick and tired of probably hearing me talk about this, but I'm like, I have learned so much about home ownership process, whatever it may be,
yeah,
fixing things, doing things yourself, and I'm like, yeah, it gets it. You get a lot of knowledge, but at the same time, you're like, this is a lot to be able to do by yourself.
it, and normally I do a project for like 5 minutes, and I like think it's going to be really fun, like painting. You start it for 5 minutes, fun, and then it's like, okay, I'm really over this. Like I don't want to do it anymore, and you end up doing it for like days. So yeah, that's what renovating the stores are kind of like.
I'm sure. I'm sure. All right, taking into the creation process of Triangle Pop Up. You started it. You mentioned it with your sister.
Yeah.
What was that process like? I know 2014. You were kind of in the area. how did Triangle Pop-Up come to be?
Kind of a long story, but I mentioned earlier that I did a brief little time in Atlanta, and I moved back here and I couldn't find a job. And I was working at a university there and wanted to do something similar, but I just couldn't find anything. And I started working at a local bar in Fuquay. And I was doing a lot of their social media and marketing and had some experience in that and like loved marketing. So I was doing that and I just kind of asked the bar, like, hey, like I have seen like a couple of these like art festival market type of things. And this was back a while ago before we had talked about they just kind of got exploded. There weren't many. And so they were like, yeah, sure, you could do whatever. And so I hosted one and I like reached out to some of those artists, like friends from college who like made jewelry and stuff, and just tried to get some together. Hosted one, and it was crazy busy, and the artists made a lot of money. And well, like they did well, like it was good. And everyone was like, when are we doing this again? Like the venue and the customers and the artists. And I was like, okay, like let's do it again. And so um I realized that one was successful because of like the marketing efforts. And
Right.
really, I would say we're almost a marketing company, just as much as we're like an event company, because the marketing aspect is just so huge in what we do. But anyway, so I just started doing them regularly there, and it started out with like maybe 15 artists the first time we did it, and
Yeah.
set up inside the bar. And then within a year, we were doing this huge like outdoor festival there. Like we were doing them monthly. That would have like almost 100 vendors, and we would shut down the street and have music and food. So that single event just like grew, and it became this like really cool thing.
Right.
So then I feel like I'm really bad with timelines, but I feel like
Mhm.
within a year or two, um, we I was starting to get approached by other venues who were like, "Hey, like, have you thought about doing this in other places?" And I was kind of like, "Not really." Like, I was still in like searching for a job, and this was just like a hobby that I was doing for
Yeah.
fun, not like a business at this point. It was just a hobby. Like, and then I kind of, I think I just like, excuse me, I took on another venue, Transfer Food Hall. It was like this really exciting new food hall that was opening in Raleigh, and they agreed to let me do a market there. And I was like so excited because I was like, this is legit. This is like a huge new food hall, and they're gonna like trust me and let me do this market. um and so that was when it was like, okay, maybe this needs to be like a real thing.
Yeah.
um, and that's kind of when it started becoming a business. Like I feel like it's still becoming a business because like when you are a small business owner, like you're learning every day like what you should be doing. Like I feel like it still took like months to get an LLC
Sure.
or like a
Yeah.
logo. That was my first logo was so bad, but it's because I made it. It was literally just a
Yeah.
triangle. I should send you a picture of it. It was really
Please
bad.
do.
But those kind of things were like, all right, now we're running into this issue. Let's figure
Yeah.
out how to do this, because I had no experience running a business, but
Right.
I was like build these relationships with vendors and prove that I could bring out people to buy their products with that marketing experience. And that was just like what I loved doing, was just being able to help local artists like get their name out
Right.
there and make money. Like it was so exciting when we would have a great event and the artists were like, we sold out and stuff. It was just, yeah. So it was an exciting time. But yeah, that's kind of like how it got started, and then just started picking up venues, and then like learning how to run a business as I went. And then the pandemic.
And so when COVID happened, where did your mind go? As someone who is literally leading pop-up markets of vendors and people and what like this actual face-to-face
Yeah.
communication happening.
One of the first things that happened when the
Yeah.
pandemic started in 2020, like really like one of the first things they did, I think in March, was shut down any kind of gathering.
Yes.
And at that time was right kind of after I really went in on the business and started like picking up all these venues and really becoming like more legit. And then yeah, the pandemic happened and they were like, let's shut down everything, like especially gatherings and events. Even I think before they closed, like, indoor dining and retail and stuff, like when it was really, really shut down, it was like events were first. And I was just like, what do I do? We
Right.
had so much stuff scheduled. We had, um, vendors had paid us to vend with them. And I was just like, how do I was starting to run a business with all these expenses, but then like all these vendors who now didn't have income either, like they had like given me money to like help host the events. And like it was just a mess. Like I was really depressed, I think, for like a few weeks of like I everything I thought I was doing is done.
Right.
So I was just a little bit lost. Like this, yeah, it was bad. But at this time, like I also was kind of running things by myself. It wasn't like I had staff or anything like that.
Yep.
Um, I was really doing a lot by myself, which is not good, I learned. But I didn't know how to grow yet. I didn't know how to hire people. I didn't have money. Like I was still just like figuring it out. So we were really, yeah, I like went to pick up a local job at a coffee shop, like just so I could have a way to like survive. And just kind of like put Triangle Pop Up to the side and just like was trying to deal with this mess.
Yep.
But then by the fall, we were able to kind of restart some events. And when things lightened up just a little bit with like hill, because we
Yeah.
kind of they were allowing farmers markets and stuff, and we were kind of like, we can do this safely as outdoor retail.
Yep.
And because like it's safer than going into a grocery store, department
Right.
store.
Right.
You're time we were wearing masks outdoors, I think it was just kind of like people didn't know what was going on really. Every day was something different, and so we just did our best to follow all the rules we could, like it require masks outdoor, which was really hard. Free event, space out the vendor tents like 10
Yeah.
feet, just whatever we could do to still give the vendors an opportunity to
Right.
sell, because they were hurting so much as well. And we did that. We were able to like host some events and like and it by the fall and really get going again. But that was when retail came into the picture for us.
Okay.
The city of Raleigh, kind of like Downtown Raleigh Alliance,
Yeah.
and Empire Properties, which owns a lot of the just like the storefronts in Raleigh.
Yep.
They were trying to kind of revitalize like the downtown and get more people in there.
Yep.
And this was like October of 2020, and they had reached out and asked if I knew any vendors that wanted to do a storefront. And I think having a storefront was within my 5 to 10 year goals, where I could like sell local makers goods for them.
Yep.
But we were on the events, but I was like, I could do that. Like,
Wow.
and they let me do it. And we opened a pop-up retail store for November and December. And
Okay.
it was amazing. It was crazy. We opened the store in like a week, and we had like 50 vendors that we found and all their products and got them in there, and like just yeah, did it all in like a week. And then it went so well. We were able to pay out I think 30,000 to
Wow.
small businesses for that 2 months. And it was just really cool because it was a way for people to still shop from them when
Yeah.
there were events and stuff like that. So yeah, like it was just great. So then we signed a lease for that space, and we're still there in downtown Raleigh. But it was a great retail was a great kind of pivot during the pandemic to be like, okay, we're gonna focus on helping these artists through, yeah, like having a retail store for people to come shop. But it's not like this big gathering type of thing.
Very cool.
So that really kicked off the retail a lot sooner than I thought.
It is so cool when you walk into a store and it's just not one person or one company's thing being shoved down your throat. It is
Mhm.
like it is really cool to walk into these retail shops and just see how many local people there are making things in Raleigh or Durham or wherever it may be. But it is so cool to see everything because everybody's work is so beautiful and different in their own way, and it's cool to just see it all displayed.
Yeah, I mean, and we kind of talked about it earlier, and it's like jewelry, candles, pottery, some fine art, leather goods, just like food products. But I would say the retail stores, the downtown one, if you've been, is a pretty cute,
Yeah,
small.
it is.
And that is about 50 artists at a time are in there and their products. And it's called Curate because that's our whole, the kind of our whole thing
Yeah.
with markets and the retail stores is that we really try to highly curate the selection of goods that you're shopping from. So you don't just walk in and it's one type of vendor, like only jewelry and all the same styles. It's really like a good variety
Yeah.
of like just all there is to offer, like in Raleigh. And then our Crabtree store
Yeah.
is 3 or 4 times the space. It's huge.
Yeah, it is.
A lot more vendors there as well. And then we've done a couple pop-up retail. We did like Park West in Morrisville last year, which was really good. So just like now retail's just become such a big part of it as a way to get, the artist goods out there to the public. And the mall is you just get so many people all the time from all over that get to see their stuff. So
And you guys opened that Crabtree one in like the best timing when people were swarming Crabtree for Christmas and the holidays. Like it was the perfect timing for you guys to open your doors there for people to come and shop and get ready for the Christmas and the holiday season.
yeah, the holidays is, I mean, anyone who's in retail knows that like that's the time to take
Yes.
advantage. All things just like retail. In our events, people are really buying at that time. And since the pandemic, that's what we've seen is people knew that Amazon and
Oh, yeah.
major retailers are doing fine.
Yeah.
They like flourished through the pandemic. And so I feel like I've seen so many more people that like come out specifically. They're like, I want to buy all of my holiday gifts like local because this is where I want to put my money, help my local economy rather than helping feed Amazon, which
Yeah.
like, yeah, no digs against Amazon or anything, but they do fine. Like they don't need
Yeah.
no, it really does matter where you spend your money. And if you have the means to shop local, like because sometimes it is a higher price because you have someone who's making it, like it's not this mass production type of thing. But if you have the means to do it, it really can help change just the local economy. So that's like want to help transform Raleigh's retail scene. I think Raleigh has an amazing food and beverage scene.
Yeah.
Um, but and music even, but like retail is like that's what we're working on. And I feel like it is really coming back. When you go into downtown, there's so many new local retail stores that have popped up in the last year or so. So I feel like Downtown Raleigh Alliance has done a great job at like
They have.
kind of the way with that.
They have. And not only do like Triangle Pop Up has such a big scene in Raleigh, and then you have like food truck rodeos happening all over the Triangle as well. Like it's a great pairing that you're just seeing so much local around here and these different rodeos, pop-ups, whatever it may be, that it's just so much fun to be in this area and to be part of it because you just get great everything. Like to your point, there's like breweries popping up around now too, where it's just so much fun just to take in downtown. And I agree with you. The Alliance has done such an incredible job because COVID really hit downtown Raleigh really hard.
I live downtown too, and the first year or two almost of COVID was
Yeah.
just quiet downtown, just like dead. And there's been
Yeah.
different trends and stuff like since then, but it's really like come back a lot. Like so many of the storefronts are filled. there's people all around all the time, like spending their money locally, and it's coming back. It's good to see. Like, yeah, I was sad there for a little bit, but
Did you see a change in when you were starting to be able to have events again? Did you see an increase in vendors and people wanting to sell through Triangle Pop Up? Because I know we had talked about in the beginning, like that's where people kind of got their creativity came alive during COVID, and people started finding out, okay, I'm gonna make this and sell this and really make this a business. Did you see more vendor increase there?
uh,
Um,
yeah, I would say I've seen so many new vendors are constantly coming on the scene, but definitely, like, I feel like in the pandemic, so many new small businesses, because like we said, people were losing their jobs and like, what do I do? Well, I can make and start selling that. So I feel like we really did see a lot of that. Um, in general, on the event, kind of back to the event side of things, we have maybe over 3,000 small that have ever applied to, and that number was as of like a year ago, so I'm sure it's more by now, but that have ever applied to be a part of our events, or retail as well. But and that's like kind of within a few hours of Raleigh. So I would say some of that is like Charlotte or Greensboro or Wilmington, mostly in Raleigh, Durham area. So there's a lot that we work with. Um, and like that's why when you come to like one of our pop-up markets, we host them almost every weekend at different venues around the triangle, but there's always different vendors. It's never like you come and it's the same people each time. Each market is curated and different with a lot of varieties. So there's a lot, and that's why like there's a couple pop-up market companies and lots of events because there's so many vendors too to go around. So like it's there's a lot to shop from and support. So
Now, you did say that at the beginning of when COVID hit, you're a one woman show. You learned you can't do this by yourself. You've quickly grown your team to an incredible woman dominated team that is very fierce. What was the turning point they were like, all right, Sarah needs help. Sarah needs other people. We need a team to be built here.
no, I'm glad you brought that up because that is like such a big thing I've learned. And I didn't really mention it, but
Yeah.
my sister is who came on with me and helped me get the business back going in the pandemic. Like that fall when we started doing events again, I was overwhelmed. I like it was so much. And she came in and she was like, I'm gonna help you run this. She loved it. She loved what we were doing. She had a time job too, but she was like, I'll help you, like just get it up and running. And she still is with me now. She's a part owner of the company. We work great together, even though we're best friends, but like also we had some like bumps in the beginning of roles and working together, but overall we work great together, and she loves it as much as I do. So Abby, my sister, does a lot of the behind the scenes work, so she's doing the tech stuff and the finances and the business of all the stuff I hate. She's amazing at it, and so she handles a lot of that, but you'll see her at events helping out and stuff too. So she kind of really helps me get it like going again. But then actually last year, because it's really like the timing is not really last year, the beginning of last year was when it was like exploding with more retail and stuff like that. Actually got really sick with some like COVID complications. Actually was in the hospital for a while and completely out of commission for work. And at that time, we had the retail store that had to keep running, and like I was the one working it. Like so when I was sick and like literally couldn't be there, it was like, what do I do? Like I don't have anyone. It was just me and Abby at this time. And that was when we had some people in our community who had kind of started to work with us a little bit, just helping out, like step up and be like, I'll be at the retail store, like I'll work it, or just like take initiative. And actually the main one who did that was my retail manager now, Nicole. But they really stepped up and were just like, I'm going to like run things while you're out and sick. And that's when I like realized I was like, I can't do it by myself. Like I I need you need people like to just help. And honestly, that's when I saw our business grow the most, was when we put other people who were really great at certain things in a role, and I could focus on other stuff. So really that being out and being sick, like I learned, whoa, I need other people to like help do this.
Yep.
Um, because what if something happens and I am out for a while or something like that? Who's gonna run things, you know? So that was a good lesson. And after that, we started focusing on like hiring, which is hard. Like as a small business, hiring is a big cost, like expensive, and it's a risk. Like, but I was like, you know what? Me and Abby talked about it, and we were like, it's a risk that, like, if you have the right people who can help you grow, like, it's worth it. And then it's like, they're helping you grow and like expand the company, and then you can hire more people. And so we really started like focusing on that and looking for people who could fill roles that we were not necessarily good at,
Yeah.
and could focus on other things. And so, yeah, now we have a pretty big team. We have retail managers at both of the stores. We have lots of really part-time people that pick up like event shifts and like work on the weekends. Let's see. We work with a lot of like photographers and design stuff because it is like a marketing company. So it's grown so much like in a short time, and it's so much better. Like it's really hard, I think, when you're trying to make the leap to hire someone as a small business. And I always think like it's great if you have another source of income still, and literally hire someone and pay them before you pay yourself so they can help grow. And then like you maybe take the leap to doing something full time.
What is the growth for you look like for Triangle Pop Up? You've got these retail shops now. You're doing pop-ups every weekend, but is there a growth vision? Like you had said, your 5 to 10 year became it like happened very quickly, but now what is in that 5 to 10 year?
I That's a great question. A lot of what's happened to us, it kind of feels like sometimes you're drowning and it's happening at you, and you're just trying to keep up with a small business, I think. And it's a great problem. Like it's great to be busy,
Yes.
um, have lots of opportunities, but because I never really even sought out to start a business, it just kind of happened. I feel like I've just been kind of going with it.
Yeah.
Um, so I have ideas of how I think like it could grow, and that's how it's kind of always been. And I just kind of go with whatever's working,
Right.
like opportunists. So like we did expand into Wilmington and run events there as well.
Yeah.
Um, and so that could be kind of the way that we grow with the event side, is keep expanding into new cities and like finding people in those cities to help run them because they know the local
Right.
scene. That could be a way we grow. We also want to do some larger scale events. We've done 3 retail stores in 3 years, so we're doing that every year.
Yeah.
And we just kind of each year are kind of like refining the events to just make them better. And so yeah, there's lots of ways we could grow, and we're just gonna see what happens and go with it. That's kind of just how I work. Is like I'm just gonna whatever's working. So
Absolutely.
um yeah, so we'll see. I don't know, but I would say maybe some more retail stores, maybe either doing larger events or expanding into new areas around North Carolina, but who knows? We'll see.
My last question for you, Sarah, is just what inspires you?
Well, I feel like I've kind of said it a lot, but the local artists, like the community is so cool. Like I said 3,000 vendors earlier, but like it feels so small. Everyone like supports each other in it. Like it's like I just see so many little examples all the time of vendors just kind of supporting each other, collaborating together. They all have the same goal of like making it big, getting their stuff into me, retail stores. And So it's just like really, it's just like such a cool job. Like we get to just help local artists all the time and like work with them. So like I guess that's inspiring to me and makes me want to keep doing what we're doing all the time because it's hard running a business. Like it's a lot sometimes. It's still like running a business, but it is like what we get to do is like I think cooler than a lot of things. And so it's just yeah, like the community of artists, I guess, just really inspires me to like keep wanting to do what we're doing. Like if there's ever anything difficult business wise, I just like try to remember all the cool positive things that like or like when an artist like gives us some feedback like you helped us grow so much this year or we made lots of money at the event and like can now we can do this. It's just really cool to see. And over the few years like we've seen so many brands evolve. Like if you look at like ours has, but like if you look at like some of these small businesses, their branding and their products, how they've evolved over the few years, it's just like really cool to see their businesses grow too. So I just feel like we're in a really cool position with our type of business to constantly be inspired by like the other small businesses that we get to work with. So
I love that. And it is so cool. And like I said to you earlier, I have literally heard triangle pop up come out of every person's mouth that I am friends with here in Raleigh in the triangle. And it is an incredible business that you have created. And I just appreciate your local standpoint because we need more of it. To your point, Amazon makes enough money, guys. They make enough money.
yeah, which I get all my disco tile from Amazon. So like
You got
I
to.
still support them too. But
Yeah. Yeah.
no, it's that's so cool to hear. Like I never thought I would hear people talking about it's a wild thing. So I appreciate all the support we get from our community as well to like allow us to keep doing this kind of thing. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, if you do not follow Sarah, please go give her a follow as well as Triangle Pop Up. Go visit one of the three retail stores if you are here in the Triangle. And Sarah, I cannot wait to see the growth of Triangle Pop Up and to come to more events this year and do some more shopping. I'm sure my sister will hide my credit cards here soon if I do any more, but I just appreciate all the work you're doing here for our community.
thank you so much for your support and thank you for having me. It was
Yeah,
great to meet you.
absolutely, absolutely. And as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.